Welcome, everyone. My name is Skip Wiley, and I am your coach of the day. This is episode 45 of the 5-year real estate career. And today's topic is a topic that's close to my heart, especially since we're at the beginning of the year. And that's how to close 12 transactions by being the educator for home buyers and real estate agents who need to be educated about the 8 myths that most home buyers are have in their mind about the real estate market. But before we get started, I just want you to think with me for a minute. I want you to imagine, if you can, building a business that you build inside the company that you work for, not going out to create a new business, but building a business that actually allows you to earn direct income, allows you to build a real estate team, indirect income as we refer to it, and also allows you to build long-term residual income. There are 7 companies today that have embraced this new business model and more every single day. So welcome to the 5-year real estate podcast. We're a seminar every single Friday morning. And our goal on this podcast is to teach people how to become better real estate agents and help you achieve the goals of creating your own personal 5-year career. And you can get more information about us, a wealth of information, on our YouTube channel. And that YouTube channel is at 5-year real estate career. The symbol at 5-year career. Check it out. You'll find a lot of valuable information that'll help you. But today, in the next 30 minutes, what we're going to do is help you understand what home buyers are thinking and believing about the real estate market. Most of them aren't encouraged about the market because of many reasons that we're going to talk about today. But also what real estate agents are thinking. They're actually buying into many of the myths that the home buyer is concerned about. So we're going to cover that, but here's some things I want you to think about. Did you know factually that 70% of the people that you're going to work with, the home buyers, believe they need a 20% down payment in order to buy a home? Dave Ramsey, national speaker, talks about that all the time. You shouldn't buy unless you have 20% to put down. Big myth, wrong strategy. What if we told you that myth is costing you as a real estate agent thousands of dollars in commissions by buying into that myth that many home buyers, potential home buyers, feel is real? The second thing is interest rates. You know that most home buyers today believe that the interest rates are too high, and they're waiting, actually wasting time thinking that the rates are too high, and they're waiting for rates to go down. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to clean up that myth. And thirdly, the purpose of today's call is simple, straightforward. We're going to help you create 12 more sales this year simply by educating the consumer about what's important to the consumer and debunking those 8 myths. So we're happy that you're here today. The purpose of today's call is to develop actionable strategies that you can start using today that will help you become the agent expert in your local community. And I'm blessed today, and I'm going to basically rely on my business partners today. Patrick Butler, Mr. Go Vertical, an expert on pretty much everything, but really an expert on foreclosure and bankruptcy, and also on a growing trend, which is the following: affinity marketing. For those of you that don't fully understand what that means, it's basically setting up employers, small to mid-sized employers, even big employers, with a real estate benefits program, and it costs the employer absolutely nothing to set it up. And then along with my buddy Patrick, Eric Wilner is here. We call him affectionately the automatic landlord. And why do we say that? Because he is the resident expert on how to buy investment real estate. He's actually the host of the longest running radio show in the country on real estate. He specializes in coaching real estate investors. So guys, I'm going to rely on you today to basically get rid of all this junk in the minds of real estate agents and, most importantly, in the minds of home buyers. So Patrick, why don't you get started with this kind of myth that home buyers have to have 20% to buy a piece of real estate.
Okay, I'll be happy to.
Don't you love that delegation that's going on right there?
Yeah,
A little
I'm happy
pressure.
to. So Eric was going to cover that part of the topic, but that's perfectly fine.
I'll take it. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah, so 20% down. I will tell you, I've done countless seminars, webinars, education, and one-on-one meetings when I sold to buyers back in my days working one-on-one with consumers. And everybody has a misconception. And it's exactly that. Oh, you need 20% down to buy a house. And that's a great conversation starter with people, because you don't. Hopefully we all in real estate understand that there are many loan program types. There are government loans, there are traditional conventional financing loans, and they range anywhere from very low down payments, VA loans as an example for veterans at 0 down payment, all the way through the scope of even hard money loans that you can get in real estate. But first and foremost, it's important that we understand that there are a variety of options. And the first way we can get a home buyer to work with us and to like us and trust us is to educate them about that. And one of the best things you can do, and I'll even defer to my friend Eric, who is a mortgage loan originator, and have your mortgage partner put some scenarios together for you. Sit down with your consumer over a cup of coffee or your favorite adult drink and go over these with them. And all of a sudden you'll see the light bulbs go off, that there are many programs that you can get into with very low down payments, coupled with the fact that very, very available in every state in the union is down payment assistance. So just imagine that. You can get
excellent comment. Hey,
yeah.
Eric, why don't you tell everybody or help us understand credit score? I mean, I thought you have to have a 700 credit score to buy anything in America today.
Yeah, that's another interesting myth that we can debunk today. Besides the down payment, which is, as you see, as a myth. In fact, there's even cases where people have received money to close. Not commonly happening, but that's a fact. But when it comes to credit
Thank
score,
you. I was going to say that before I got cut off by our moderator.
Well, you can rely on him for that. So we often focus first. In fact, I always like to describe, most people when they think about buying a home, they go to their local bank, right? And when they walk in the door, the first question that every bank asks you is, what's your credit score, right? That's like the bar you must pass over. And if it's under 700, most people think that the bank's just going to turn you right around. So many people don't even apply. Mistake number one. There are programs from a 0 credit score. I'm actually doing one right now, a 0 credit score loan. Okay, so that exists. But generally speaking, here's the 3 things that you want to remember about credit score. An 800 or above, and I'll say one more thing, that your credit score could become one of the most single important digits when it comes to your finances, because it affects everything, a lot more than just getting a mortgage, right? It affects your insurance costs. And I'm talking about health insurance, home insurance, car insurance is determined and affected by your credit score. Next, I'll tell you that if you have less than a 700 credit score, it's not that you can't get a loan, it's that it's going to cost you more. Okay, an 800 credit score gives you the best deals, 0% interest on credit cards and temporary loans. They even pay bonuses for people with an 800 credit score to come use their credit lines. So an 800 credit score could actually make you money. A 700, that's the average in the United States, believe it or not. They say that the average credit score in America today is around 710. But below a 700, you're going to pay a premium. So 2 people buying the same house for the same price, one getting a 6% rate, one getting an 8% rate, for example, that's a 2% difference, and let's just take a $300,000 average loan. 300,000, 2% is $6,000 a year. That's $500 a month. You see where they bought the same house, same price, but one's paying $500 more because of credit score. And, the credit score is kind of like the formula to Coca-Cola, right? Nobody knows. It's a very secret algorithm that the credit bureaus designed. And why? Because so they can sell that data information massaged in their own special way to lots and lots of companies. But there's 5 main components to a credit score, right? the payment history, number one, the utilization or the amount owed versus how much you can go, how long you've had the credit in place, which, by the way, another myth is closed credit cards you're not using. Don't do that. And finally, the length of time that you've had the credit. So let's just debunk it once and for all. Number one, credit score it matters, but it won't stop you. In fact, what we like to say is when the banks say no, we say yes, because we also have some interesting programs where you start out as renting to own. We have programs that allow you to move in and fix and build your credit while you already live in your home. So when you look at those, and by the way, as an agent out there, do you know that there's also ways for not only for you to help people to improve their credit scores to get into these programs, but for you to get paid a referral fee for these special programs? So the bottom line, if I were to just wrap this up in one sentence, is credit score is not the final determinant, and a 700 credit score is not the minimum credit score. Back to you, Skip.
So what I heard you say clearly is waiting is a big mistake. So why,
100%.
Patrick, why is waiting a huge mistake for people who are looking to buy their first home?
Well, that's a great question, Skip. And as Eric was going through those points, I'm thinking to myself, if I were the home buyer and somebody told me, well, your credit score is 660, and if we had, up over a 700, your numbers would change. That might make me want to wait. That might make me think, wow, $500, that's a lot of friggin' money, man. I can't afford that. Well, first of all, are you sure? Let's take a look at it. Once again, let's run some numbers on this scenario. And part of the home buyer process is to also get a step back from the thing that you're worried about. Oh, I'm worried about the extra $500. Well, when you look at the entire monthly payment, it may not be more than rent, even with the worse credit. So that's option number one. Number two, we talked about it. When you get into a home, your credit rapidly improves when you're paying on-time mortgage payments. And so it then affects all of your other credit. As Eric mentioned, those $500 could be offset by better terms on credit cards, on insurance, and other things. So look at the whole thing holistically. And taxes. Look at then you've also got all your write-offs and everything. So that's important. But waiting is a problem because there's something that happens in real estate home ownership that is the appreciation and the equity buildup of the property. So as we're making mortgage payments, albeit ever so slightly in the beginning, we're paying down the mortgage balance and building equity. But more importantly is in today's marketplace with the rapid appreciation of real estate, you are accumulating 5%, 10% of the value of your property every year. So if you bought a $300,000 home at only 5% appreciation, that's a $15,000 increase. Now, granted, you cannot put groceries on the table with that necessarily, but it is real value. So Eric uses a term, it's not timing the market, trying to figure out when interest rates are going to make that move, but it's your time in the market because real estate is an investment that works slowly over time. Fix and flippers identify opportunities, and we can talk about that under a separate seminar where the value is already high and they come in lower. But for the smart investor, you and me, the average homeowner, we get in earlier, the better. And you can always adjust the terms. Refinancing your loans is possible and changing loan types even, which I think is our next piece of the puzzle, Skip, in terms of doing it now, interest rates. I'll put it back to you.
And one little final point to put a dot on it, there's an old cliche. You said one of my sayings, it's time in the market, not timing the market. There's another cliche, and I didn't come up with this one, but this says, marry the house, date the rate, right? You can always refinance the terms, just as you said. You can always refinance and get a better rate. You cannot refinance and get a better price.
Got it, loud and clear. And as a real estate agent in our buyer consultation, which is the first step, or actually the second step to being a successful agent. First step is get them to a lender. Most important, get them to a lender that knows what they are doing and help that person determine what they qualify for. And secondarily, getting them to the lender helps eliminate, the credit score challenge, the 20% down payment required challenge, the interest rates are too high challenge. But let's talk just for a minute about two things that kind of tie together. people are always saying now real estate is too damn expensive and it's cheaper to rent than it is to buy. So, Eric, why don't you talk a little bit about that misstatement?
Yeah, well, and I deal with that all the time, first of all, if you think about this, and this is a statistic put out by HUD, the government publishes this data every year, and the average net worth of a renter hasn't changed a lot over the last 10 years, $9,000, $10,000. The average net worth of a homeowner is now close to $400,000. So it's not a 2x 4x difference. It's not even a 10x difference. It's a 40 times difference in owning it. So now you tell me whether real estate is too expensive. The truth of the matter is that what is considered affordable housing is basically about 1/3 of your gross income. So it's not that the real estate is expensive. Sometimes it's our tastes that are too expensive. But the bottom line of that conversation is that you can figure out what you can afford comfortably. And statistics say that when you maintain a payment somewhere around 1/3 of what your gross income is, that you will be in times of instability or market cycles, that you're not going to get, bumped out of your house because you were overextended on the mortgage payment. But today, mortgages are better, more favorable than renting, number one. Number two is that people don't take into consideration that part of that mortgage payment, or a large part of that mortgage payment, is often interest, and interest is often deductible. And there's other tax advantages, whether you're a homeowner or whether you're an investor. Obviously, consult your tax professional. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at the cost of owning over time, in fact, right now, if you really were to look back over the last, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, it actually costs you more money not to own than it did to own.
For sure.
And I think every one of us on this call wish we'd kept every single property that we owned over the past 25 years. We'd all be multi-millionaires just through the acquisition of that home, keeping that home, renting it out, and doing the things that. So I have a question for you, Patrick. I hear this. Many home buyers go out and look at property they can't afford. Eric mentioned it a minute ago, but talk for a minute about the difference between pre-approval and pre-qualification, if you will, because all of us on this call, we're all lenders. We've all been in the mortgage business, and we're all real estate agents. And I think it's imperative that real estate agents get much more familiarity with the financing side of the transaction, especially in today's world. So talk about the difference between pre-approval, pre-qualification from a lender standpoint and a real estate standpoint.
Yeah. And, I think, Skip, where we're going with this conversation too, is there is a process to getting a buyer on board with moving forward. Much like in the listing of real estate, we go through the process of the listing presentation. Well, buyers should deserve the same kind of overview. So not only do they need to understand the process, but also what do the hard facts look like? Not just, rates aren't that high, but literally show them what their monthly payments, cash out of pocket, net relative payments are after tax deductions, and the appreciation buildup. Looking at that, because seeing is believing, and a picture is worth
1,000 words.
That's right. So when we show, that really does an awful lot to help us convey the information. So, the pre-approval process is just one step in the equation. Now, a pre-qualification is very simple. How much do you make? How long have you been making it? What's your credit score look like? Okay, great. We work some numbers through the computer, and bam, you have a pre-qualification that basically says, based on the information you've told me, your verbal information, this is about what interest rate you should be able to get depending on loan program, and that'll equate to this monthly payment. A pre-approval is the same process. However, that is official information submitted into an underwriting engine by the lender of your choice. And oftentimes you can do it for zero fee, and it doesn't impact your credit score, contrary to popular belief. But now you get the real picture. And a pre-approval will do one of three things. It'll tell you, I am good to go, ready to buy a house at this price point, and these are my parameters. So now I've got cash in pocket, for lack of a better definition. It'll tell me I've got a couple of issues I need to clear up before I get that approval. Good to know now because I'm not under contract, stressed out over time. Let me take care of those. Or it might say you are denied for lending because of a number of reasons that you have to overcome one way or the other before you can buy a home. And that's good to know too, because you don't want to take your family out looking at houses or take a family out looking at houses only to find out that they're not going to be able to buy one. So they lose their hope and they lose their dreams. We can help them and just figure out what the timeline is. Again, I'll quote Eric Wilner, it's not if you can buy a home, it's when you can buy a home. And so understanding that one way or the other, even if you think you're a train wreck, you should go through the pre-approval process anyway. I will give you a case in point. After I got divorced, I know my credit got dinged for a number of reasons. This is back in the 90s. And I wasn't thinking I was ready to buy a home again because I bequeathed my home to my previous spouse. But lo and behold, a friend of mine goes, let's just get you a pre-approval. And bam, I was good to go. I did not realize it. And I went out and I bought another house just like that. And thank goodness I did, because that paid huge dividends down the road. So the pre-approval, Skip, is a really vital step in the process. And again, encourage your buyers to do that because it will set the stage for what the process looks like. And in fact, if they are a train wreck, there are other programs we can help you put them through, but you shouldn't be spending your time with them until they get those things adjusted. Back to you, Skip.
Yeah, and that
Hey.
pre-approval process, by the way, is a lot safer than a train wreck. So in that case,
Absolutely. And it saves so much time and frustration. But guys, I know a lot of people out there with student loans who actually believe that having student loans eliminates them from their ability to buy their first home. And so reality is get with the right team, the right loan officer, the right real estate agent, do a pre-approval meeting and do a buyer consultation and learn how to master that skill as a real estate agent to debunk these myths that people have in their head. Their parents told them this, the experts on the internet told them something else. So it's really important that we become good at educating people and coaches. Final point for today's discussion is, hey, and either one of you can take this. A lot of people want to do it on their own today because the internet has made it so easy to get all this information. What's the benefit or the risk associated with doing it on your own? Either one of you want to talk about that, or both of you, please.
Be my guest, Eric.
Well, they say that a client who has himself as a lawyer is a fool. No more would we operate on ourselves, perform dentistry on ourselves. Finance today is also very technical, and in many cases, and having someone who knows, first of all, it doesn't cost you extra, number one. Number two, probably I bet you that the majority of the stories that say that, hey, I went online applying and I got declined. Well, then what, right? But having a professional on your side, and that's why, especially you as an agent, have to make sure that you surround yourself with great professionals, because I'll tell you, there isn't a person on this planet who's coachable and cooperative that can't become a homeowner, right? Like you said, it's not a matter of if, it's when. And so imagine having somebody who's almost like a lawyer for you, right? You can tell them everything about your finances, but they know what to present to the judge, jury, the underwriter, and the lender. So doing it on yourself, listen, there's lots of people that can do it themselves. And if you've got perfect credit and tons of income verifiable, then that may be an option. But did you get the best rate? In fact, if you did that, do you have the wherewithal and the tools, the knowledge, the access, and the community to be able to know whether you got the best deal for you?
And I want to add one other point. Over the past 40 years of my real estate and mortgage career, I could tell you I have seen hundreds of people who have gone out to buy a for sale by owner and paid way too much for that property. They didn't have a guide, somebody that could do the comps. And as a real estate agent, our job is not to sell. You want to sell. There are plenty of professions where hard sell works. In the real estate world, the best thing that we can do is educate the consumer, coach the consumer, guide the consumer, and help them make the best decision. And in doing so, as an agent, that guarantees you long-term relationships with people that will refer you. So as we bring this meeting to a close today, gentlemen, did we cover, I think we covered in detail all the myths that people have relevant to the acquisition of real estate. Any comments?
Well, we covered them very superficially, but I think what our mission is to don't just let those beliefs in a consumer's heads determine whether they do or do not succeed in their dreams. Help them understand the truth behind those things. And part of that, and I guess you're going to talk about this in a minute, Skip, is through education. So I've thrown up on the screen here a sample of one of our home buyer webinars. And if you'd like to attend one of those, there's a QR code. Take a picture of that puppy and register. But I'll leave it to you, Skip. I think that's vital.
Yeah, I think this is what I love about real estate. You don't have to work alone. You can work with teams. And our team has put together a comprehensive lead generation program that is based on two components that are very popular today and easy and low cost, very low cost to create massive leads. Number one is using webinars, and we do webinars on investment real estate, first-time home buyer, affinity marketing, and new construction. Those webinars, people are out in the marketplace on social media that will find you, and they will attend one of your webinars. And we build it around also a second tool that helps educate the consumer, and that is our YouTube channel. That channel, again, is at 5-Year Real Estate Career. And if you want to know more about how to create leads, and leads are the lifeblood of all businesses, you just need to set up a brief consultation with us as a real estate agent, and we'll talk to you a little bit how our program works. But as we close today, I want to thank both of you for doing what you always do, a superb job of educating our real estate community about how to create more leads, and also about how to debunk the myths that many home buyers have. I want to thank you both. And I want to thank people who are coming to our weekly podcast for attending the 5-Year Real Estate Career podcast. We hope you enjoyed our podcast every time you're with us. And we want you to stay tuned for more exciting content on upcoming episodes. You can follow us on YouTube. You can reach out to us directly. And remember, don't just listen, use this information. This information has value. And if you take one thing away from this meeting today, it's salesmanship is a part of any career in real estate and mortgages. But the most important part is educating the consumer about how to make the right decision on a mortgage and real estate. So with that, until next time, we thank you for attending our podcast. See you on our next podcast next Friday. Goodbye.